Folks, I am joined here in the virtual studio, which is to say we're both on the same planet and connected to the internet, by one of my dearest friends, mentors, longtime professional collaborators, and just also a great personal friend, Mr. Aaron Parkinson. Aaron is the founder, CEO, and owner of 7 Mile Media, which is a digital agency that he runs from his beautiful, not even just beautiful home, but just a beautiful life in general, from the Cayman Islands, hence the name 7 Mile Beach, famous beach down there. And we're going to be talking about, I won't even try to predict all the things we're going to be talking about, but I know it's going to be interesting. I know it's going to be super smart and insightful because that's just who he is. And it's going to give a ton of value. And I do imagine some of it will center around things that he's learned and can share with us from building a multi-million dollar digital marketing and consulting agency really very quickly, and from the comfort and the luxury of the Cayman Islands, and really just sort of speaking to the possibility of this digital marketing lifestyle that we talk about in the new economy so much, that I'm so fixated on and passionate about sharing. And there's no better person I can think to help us see what's possible than my good friend, Aaron Parkinson. Welcome to the show, or whatever this ends up being.
I'm so excited to be on the show.
The show.
And it's funny because we started together this idea of you being the Jeff Lerner show, I don't know, a year and a bit ago.
Yes, September 2018, a year and a half.
Okay. And I've never actually been on the show, which is kind of funny when you think about it.
The show has been a very amorphous evolution that you could have, probably the first year of the show could have just been called The Rant.
Yes. a good rant though.
And one which, people, we have a lot of backstory I'm sure we can get into, but which you actually were a silent partner in many ways. You kind of helped architect and steer and in a way I feel like I was one of your earliest clients for like what you're doing now, where you said, Jeff, here's your real product. You think you're selling this, but actually you've got this. And this is what you have to sell, but this is how you have to steer it and market it and take it to market. And I think you kind of knew that there was a kindling waiting for a spark. And, you've set me on the path that frankly, I'd say we've set me on the path. Like, I can't give you all the credit because I did the work, but like, shit, I was not thinking nearly as big before we talked about it as I was after.
Absolutely.
And everything that I'm doing now sources back to some revelations that I had when I was literally down hanging out with you in Cayman Islands. And we were just talking. You were kind enough at that time, really just working with me as a friend and a peer, saying, hey, Jeff, like where do you want to go with this? And I got to see your natural gift as a consultant in action. So it's no surprise to me that in the last year and a half, while I've built, what I've built, you've built a multi-million dollar consulting business. It seems like and this is such a cliche, it seems like it's just happened overnight almost. Like you just decided one day I'm going to plant a flag, and next thing I know, you're billing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to these big name clients, and people are, hounding you. You've got a wait list at this point, I'm sure. And it's one of those overnight successes, 20 years in the making. So
Sure.
That is one of the things I would love to share with the audience is, my audience is all about, okay, how do I take these skills? There's these skills that Jeff's always talking about, coupled with these opportunities Jeff's always talking about. How do I actually plug in, learn the skills, realize the opportunities, and thus create a completely different set of possibilities for my life? So with that in mind, maybe you could back up a little bit and say, like, how did Aaron Parkinson then get to be the person that can be Aaron Parkinson now?
There's so many different answers I could give to that question, but owning a digital agency is interesting because there's a lot of people who say they own digital agencies online. I mean, there's courses that are sold for $1,000 all day long, by very successful people. And it's like, buy my course and be a digital agency. Right. And so I guess the first thing is that there are, they always say there's levels to this game, right? I'm not at this level. there's companies in New York that would laugh at, my agency. Like, that's not even an agency. Like, you don't even bill as much as one of our clients pays us,
right.
Like, go away. Right. And so there's levels to the game, but, for me, where I started online 15 years ago, marketing my own stuff, right? The first thing that we did is we launched our affiliate marketing training platform. We had students in 40,000 countries. And the only reason that I was able to launch that platform and train people was because I had spent 3 years in the trenches actively generating my own leads as an affiliate. So I had cracked the code myself, and that gave me the confidence to go and teach it to other people. And then when I sold that company and I left it, I went into the health and fitness space and learned an entirely new model and an entirely new vertical. And I spent 7 months figuring out how to crack the code of generating leads and sales in that industry. And then when I sold that, I started our female accessories line, Grace Cali Designs, where I learned an entirely new set of skills, how to sell, female accessories to women all over the world online and on Shopify. And so, like, I've stacked my own skill sets based on putting my money where my mouth is first, which is my own business, and then selling it to other people. And right now, I think there's a whole lot of people that are out in this space that are buying a course and using the client's money to learn how to do their thing. And that is a really dangerous approach to take, because my business, the digital marketing agency, is not that fun of a business. It's not really that, like, emotionally rewarding a lot of the times, because it's not like they're coming to me to buy a car, right? Buy a car, transaction, thanks, I got what I wanted, there you go. So they're coming to me with all their hopes and their dreams, and they're saying, can you make my dream a reality? And then I have to look at it and decide if I can. And then if I think that I can, I start to put things in place, and it's a zero-sum game. Either they make sales or they don't. And if they make sales, I'm only fulfilling what I said I could. So they're not even really, like, that happy or grateful about it. They're like, oh, great, you did your job.
Right.
And if I don't, they're losing their mind, because all they're seeing is negatives and they don't typically have a whole lot of patience. Like, most people coming, out with, if they have a product and it's established, it's very easy. But if they don't have a product and they're coming with an idea, maybe it's going to work, maybe it isn't, and you layer all of that experience. And a lot of those people are undercapitalized, they're impatient. They don't have this, like, long-term vision like you did of growing your thing. Right. So if you're using other people's money to train yourself, you're going to have an awful lot of heartache in the near future, because businesses don't have the patience. Like, you got to perform or quickly, or they're gone. So it's interesting, because again, I want to really tailor this conversation toward my audience and serve their desires and their goals. Because you and I could talk about a million things, and we so often do. Yeah. It's interesting. So looking at your career and to some degree looking at my career, although my agency was very different from your agency, we both have or have had successful agencies. Yeah. But it wasn't the first thing we did. No. And you're right. There are so many courses now teaching this idea of, like, hang a shingle, become a consultant. Consulting, think about what that is. It's business therapy. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times it actually ends up being personal therapy with your clients. But you don't just get to lease a space and declare yourself a therapist. Like, there's standards for these things. I guess maybe in the modern world you kind of do sometimes, but there at least should be standards for these things. And I'm not saying it's something. It's necessarily a college degree, but it's like you just said. You spent 3 years in the trenches cracking affiliate marketing. Then you spent probably 5 years in the trench of having had cracked affiliate marketing,
cracking the code of how to teach affiliate marketing and run an information-based membership business. Then you spent years cracking the nutrition kind of retail business with logistics and distribution and shipping and affiliates and a different type of affiliate than you had in the affiliate training business. Then you spent years cracking, women's fashion. So, I mean, first of all, we know you're old because there's a lot of years that we just sandwiched together.
Old is perspective, I guess.
Right. We know that you're seasoned. But the point is, you're experienced, but that is the qualification. That is the standard. You're experienced. Thus, you are qualified to consult. So, we have a program in our ecosystem, Entra, called the Agency Millionaire Accelerator course, and that's a path. But I tell my story. Look, I started with affiliate marketing. I did e-commerce, even agency. I started with as a service provider, directly providing the services rather than managing the provision of the services. I think there's just an ethos on the internet of people being in such a damn hurry. And they in so doing, I think they really limit who they can become. I use that language a lot, who they could grow into, because it's like a baby. If you stuff it full of steroids and try to get it to grow too fast, it just ends up deformed, right?
Yep. And I think that, I don't want this to come across as like me detracting from what people want to do. If anything, I really want to shine light on, if this is what they want to do, what's the best way to approach it? And, the best way to approach it in my mind is get really, really, really good at one channel. Okay. And maybe that's, maybe that's Facebook, maybe that's Instagram, maybe it's Google AdWords, maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's native, maybe it's email.
Or one skill, right? Like copywriting.
That's what I mean. Like when I say one channel, I mean, one skill, because they're all different to run, right? So like our agency is really, really, really good at scaling Facebook ads, Facebook and Instagram ads, right? That's like our superpower, right? So, when you go out and you're talking to businesses, and you and I both know this, right? We've sold businesses a million different things, right? What is the only thing they care about?
Making more money, getting new customers, lead generation. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a million things they need to be doing. They need to be increasing their speed of their website. They need to be following up with people. They need to have CRMs. They need to have sales processes. They need to have, an active review process built in to build up their reputation. They need all of those things. They don't care. Right? Like that, you can talk until you're blue in the face on those things, and the average business is like, I don't care. Right? The average business is like, can you generate me more leads or more sales? And then from there, the conversation will mushroom as you've established the credibility. That's the door opener, right? If you've ever tried to sell anything else to a business, and I know you have, it's like banging your head against the wall, because 99% of businesses aren't even going to make it, right? And they know that. Right. So the only thing they really care about in the short term is fuel. It's food. Right. And once they've got that under control, then they're willing to look at all those other things. So going back to the point, right? What's the number one thing that I would recommend is get into one skill set, one channel, and absolutely absorb every piece of information you can about it. And ideally test it with your own money. Or worst case scenario, test it with somebody's money who knows that you're new to this, and potentially do it for them for free to get some experience, under your belt, and be honest, like, I'm pretty sure this is going to work, but, we won't know until it happens, so that you can get familiar with how these things actually operate and get some confidence and get some consistency before you go out and start pitching businesses, because businesses have no patience and they are ruthless. Like I was saying to you right before we started this call, my phone last night, I went out for dinner. I got back, there was 37 texts on it from clients. Like, Are you ready for that?
And you're the owner. You're not the project manager. They're actually not supposed to contact you for things.
No, I've got 25 staff that they should be talking to, right? Like businesses are like hyper sensitive. Everything is always 911. If something's broken, it has to be fixed now. If, I had a client last night that they didn't like one of the ads that we were running. Now, they've never asked to pre-approve the ad. So they saw it online and they're like, hey, we don't like that. We don't think it fits our identity. Okay, we'll change it. They went in last night without telling me and turned all their ads off. Okay? Their cost per acquisition 3 weeks ago was $30 per. In this particular client, they run a webinar registration funnel with a really high take because they're a university, so they got a really big back end, right? So it's okay if they spend that amount of money because it's the type of person they're attracting. When they shut it off last night, their cost per acquisition was at $6.72 from 30. Okay, so in the last 3 weeks, all the testing that we've done had it to this absolutely amazing, perfect point. And do you know what happens when you shut everything off?
It's like hitting the reset button.
It's like hitting the reset button. The entire algorithm changes. And instead of just being patient, where I could have gone in and been like, okay, let's adjust some.
Like letting you finish dinner, basically.
Like, yeah, they should just shut it off. And I'm like, and it's not that I'm not mad at them, or it's not like they did anything wrong, but they don't know what they just did, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're impatient, and that's all businesses. They're all like that, right? So again, going back to my point, you better be really, really good at your skill because you got to produce results very, very fast, or you've got to set expectations for that client that are really clear on how long things are going to take and get their buy-in ahead of time.
So it sounds to me like if somebody has an idea in mind, and I think, by the way, I want to say it's a great idea. There's a reason you and I both gravitated towards creating agencies, because if you're interested in digital marketing, you're interested in whatever, whether it's because you geek out on the tech or because you just want to live a carefree lifestyle and be able to work from a beach in Cambodia like our friends do. It doesn't really matter the reason, but if you're attracted to digital marketing, an agency is a great place to aspire. It's a great thing to aspire for because it's a way of stabilizing the revenue associated with that trade. Affiliate marketing can be up and down. E-com can be up and down. It's Black Friday one day, it's January 2nd another day, right?
Or China shutting down all their ports.
Or it's coronavirus attacks.
we have 4 clients right now that we're spending $5,000 a day on ads. They're at $50 a day right now
because they can't get product. Wow. Yeah. Exactly. And yet you, the consultant, are still getting paid. Hence my statement. It's a great way to stabilize the income associated with the trade. But it's so I don't want to discourage that. I don't want you.
No,
you're not either.
No, I'm not discouraging it at all. Right? It's not the right fit for everybody. I'll tell you who it is the right fit for. Right? Okay. It is a very unique personality that can start an agency, and you just start it first, and then you hire people, as you grow. So this doesn't always have to be all you, but you have to have a really interesting personality combination to run a digital marketing agency. One, you have to be creative because you always have to be iterating your imagery, your copy, your video, your messaging, like all of that stuff. You have to be constantly testing. The moment you stop testing, you die. Right? And on the other side, you have to be really analytical because you're constantly reviewing numbers and then correlating them to the different parts of the customer journey so that you can see where the customer is falling off in the process. Mm-hmm. and then mapping that against where you want to go and so on and so forth. That's not normal. That's not a normal personality.
And there's a third aspect too. because neither creatives nor analysts would you immediately associate, oh, also they're great with people.
Right.
So there's like this third outlier.
Absolutely. Like if you're starting in from scratch, you also got to be the salesperson.
Yeah.
Right? A salesperson, a data analyst, and a creative. What a bizarre combination of humans, of personalities merging together. But there are a lot of people out there who are like that. And if you're stronger in one sector, right, you can hire people to do those other things, right? Like in short order, but you've got to be able to be like love creating and love like the battle, like the game.
Right.
It's a constant battle, like trying to crack the code, trying to beat the system, so to speak. Right. A little bit of gambler in you, like, pretty intense like personality, because you just got to keep testing and testing and testing and testing. Right. If that's like I love the win, right? Like if you're a person who loves the win, right? And you're willing to be, you're willing to take it all on your shoulders. Like when I was growing up, here's what I played in sports. In sports, I played back catcher in baseball, which you're on a team, but you're all alone, right? And if you make a mistake, it's very bad and very obvious. I was a goalkeeper in soccer. Again, you're either the hero or the GOAT. You either make the big save or you let it in and everybody looks at you like, what did you do? Right? And then I was a fighter, right? Where it's all or nothing. Either you're the king of the world or you look like a complete loser, right? So you have to have that personality that's like, I'm okay with taking, the risk, the reward, like all those. I'm also okay with taking the fall. Like you got to have that type of personality, and if you do, you can be very well suited to it.
Yeah, and it's a really, really lucrative thing. It's not a lucrative thing to do. It's a lucrative thing to be good at.
Very much so.
Because when people find a consultant that measurably adds profit to their business, you're like an alchemist at that point. You're taking what they thought was water and turning it into wine, or they thought was lead and turning it into gold, because they had already done the best they could with what they had, because no business owner wants to spend more money on somebody else to come in and tell them what to do. So if they're at that point, it's because they've already done the best they can with what they had. And then you come in and you go, actually, here's more money. So you're like a magician, and a good consultant is like a magician, which means, and I know this about you, how many times a month do you get a referral now from a friend or an associate of a client or a past client who's like, you got to talk to this guy, right?
I had one last night, and I've got to meet with that referral source today because he wants to send us more. And I had a client from 6 months ago hit me up last night. Who's like, can I come back? Right? Like, and not to, this isn't about tooting my own horn. I want to focus on what you just said, right? Mastering the skills of generating leads and sales using paid traffic, in my opinion, is the most lucrative skill set you could ever create. Because I can either do it for myself if I want to launch my own product, or I can walk into a business and say, how many sales are you doing today? How many would you like to do? I can do that for you. Like, that's all they want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's all they ask themselves every single day. How could I make more sales? How could I grow this bigger? And when you have the skill set to walk in and go, bing, 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 crank, what could be more valuable in the world? I make money machines, right? I tell our team, when we're successful, we change generations. Like, think about it. If I take somebody's business and I scale it up to 10 times the amount and hold the same profitability, and they keep that business for 10 years, or they exit out of that business for $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, we've changed the entire course of their family's legacy and life. So is it hard? Yeah, it's hard because you're constantly trying to crack the code. But when you do, is there anything more impactful that you could do like in this world? There isn't, right? 1 million people sell 1 million services. My services, I can change your entire financial situation overnight.
Yeah. You know, it is interesting because is for anybody setting up shop as an entrepreneur or even thinking about being an entrepreneur, maybe leaving a job, and with this sort of sense of like, oh, if I leave my job, I do one thing and I get paid for it. If I leave, I'm going to have to do all these things. I think it's so important for everybody to get crystal clear on what you just said, that it's not even whether you want to be a consultant or not. It's just if you want to be an entrepreneur, get good at generating sales with paid advertising.
Absolutely.
And then you have you are the golden goose and you lay the golden egg. And if you want to sell that as a service to other businesses, I mean, like you use it yourself for your e-com business, you sell it to agency. For me, a few months ago, we made some changes at Entra and I said, you know what, before I even go set up my own campaigns and I have that skill set. I'm running ads on 3 platforms right now. Like people, are constantly asking guys like you and me and the people you see on stage at events and the people you see winning, 2 Comma Club awards, like, hey, how did you do it? What's the secret? This is the secret. And even everything else, like, well, and actually this would be an interesting place, I think, to take this conversation. So where does branding fit in? Take a guy like me. Like I have Entra and I have the Jeff Lerner brand, and they're closely intertwined. They're like a Siamese pair, right? Why would you say to someone like me that it was so important for me to also put all this value, all this content, all this non-paid advertising, all of this messaging and communication that's a lot of work and doesn't have a direct ROI? Why does that matter too?
My philosophy on this has changed a lot over the last decade. I used to think that branding was just a stupid waste of money, because when you have the skill to generate leads and sales, right, you're like, yeah, but I can just put money in here and money comes out. Like, what's the purpose of that, right? That whole branding conversation. And what I've learned over the last 10 years is that being able to make leads and sales is awesome, but the brand portion of it probably 100 X's the same amount of work that you're doing right now, right? Like, you think about when you go to you go to a grocery store or whatever, right? When I buy sparkling water, I buy LaCroix or I buy Perrier. Right? I see any other one out there, I'm like, I don't want that. It's the same thing. It's the same water in every one, but I have an affinity for some reason towards this brand, right? And when you talk about the brand of, like, say, Jeff Lerner, right? Mm-hmm. People buying online have been programmed since the 50s to like and trust anybody they see on a screen, right? I mean, think about it. O.J. Simpson killed his wife, and he got off because he was a celebrity on a screen all the time. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. Yeah. I mean, we could go through a laundry list, right, of people. Bill Cosby was running around roofing women for 30 years, and nobody dropped a dime on him. You know why? Because he was Mr. Huxtable, right? Mr. Huxtable can't do something like that. Right? Like, we're conditioned to like, trust, and believe people that are on a screen, right? So if you're constantly putting out content, it doesn't even matter if you're making sales in the beginning. You are chipping away at the mental resistance of your target audience every time they see you, bit by bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, till the one day they wake up and they say, hey, I want to buy something with regards to entrepreneurialism or whatever. Their brain automatically goes, we should buy from that Jeff guy. Clearly he's successful. He must know what he's talking about because we've seen him on the screen 7,000 times, right? You are investing capital and goodwill into the marketplace, regardless of whether you're selling anything. And when the time comes, like when you look at somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk didn't sell anything, but he put out content for 3 years. And then you know what he did? He launched Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it was an instant bestseller overnight. Nobody even knew what Gary Vaynerchuk did. Why are they buying his book? Right. He's never sold anything, right? He sold it because he had created this belief system. He had chipped away at people's resistance with their content. If you look at Jeffree Star, do you know Jeffree Star?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? So you have kids, I have kids. It's probably the way you know Jeffree Star. Right? Jeffree Star has been doing makeup tutorials on YouTube for 5 years without selling a single thing, right? Just doing these makeup tutorials. He finally sold something this year. He launched his new makeup line.
Right.
He broke Shopify for everybody. Nobody's Shopify store worked because he launched like $200 million in sales in his launch week because he had invested the time in building the rapport and the credibility of the Jeffree Star brand.
Right.
Right? If he just come out in the third month and been like, I have a makeup line, he would have sold some for sure. Right? But the fact that he built that up for 5 years, that audience, that reciprocity, when he finally was like, yeah, I'm going to launch something, these people felt like they owed him something. They wanted to be part of what he was doing because he had given to them for 5 years. Right? Like, I think the total lifetime value of his launch was something like $600 million.
It's craziness. And it's kind of the whole thing about don't try to grow up too fast. You know,
right.
If you want to be a consultant, take your time, learn the skills, get experience, get demonstrated results with the skills, be a consultant for free if you have to, just so that you can develop some case studies and know that it'll come, because once you have the skills and with branding, it's once you have the reciprocity, the value is easy to tap into. The money comes. Yeah. And the internet, and I mean, you know my business and my brand pretty well. I have a few sort of core messaging threads, but one of them is sort of the anti-internet guru message of like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not flash in the pan. Stop trying to make it be. Let this thing change your life in the way that it actually can, rather than falling for all the BS promises about the ways that it actually can't.
Right.
Because internet business is still real business, right?
Absolutely. And if anything that you and I have learned over the last 10 years, especially when it comes to the internet, fast up is fast down. Yes.
I want to share with you a quote you probably know that I think speaks to what you just said. And it was prescient because it was said in 2008 by Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google at the time. And he said, brands are the solution, not the problem. Brands are how you sort out the cesspool. And he was talking about Google's challenge of having to index this massive amount of information online and figure out what was worthwhile. And to me, Google's challenge is analogous to all of our challenges mentally, which is to sift through this giant cesspool, in his term, of information online and figure out who actually matters, who actually has value. And your brand is actually how you answer that question.
Absolutely. And we see that, you know, I've just had that shift over the last decade, right? Like what ketchup do you buy, Jeff?
We buy Heinz, yeah.
Can you name another one?
Yeah. And what's funny is, I think, isn't there a lot of controversy in the news about the Heinz family? Like, aren't they like some secret sicko dynasty or something? And I'm like,
doesn't matter.
I don't know, but I still buy their ketchup. Yeah, I think I heard something really gnarly about them, but I don't care because we buy their ketchup.
Like what mustard do you buy? I mean, I don't know if you eat these things. What mustard do you buy?
We buy Grey Poupon.
Okay, I buy French's.
My kids buy French's.
Okay, yeah. So I only know 2 mustards, Jeff. I know French's and Grey. Could there be? I'm sure there's thousands of them.
Right?
once you build the brand, here's the other part of it. Like if you want to look at it from a purely digital marketing side, if you want to look at e-com, right? I'm part of a group called Blue Ribbon with Ezra Firestone, who owns Boom by Cindy Joseph. So he's getting a nice shameless plug, from me today, right? Boom by Cindy Joseph, every single year, their returning customer rate has almost doubled. So I believe like the first year, his returning customer rate was like 7% of the overall gross sales. And then the next year it was like 14. The next year it was like 20, 30. And I think like this year, I think he's at like 60% are returning customers, not new customers, right? Well, that's his brand and his culture creating that halo effect around him. If they're returning customers, that means he's not having to go out and spend the hardcore money to acquire them, right? They're coming back to him, which means that his overall marketing budget can go down. Right? And that's only because of the brand. If he was just selling a cream, a widget, boom, there you go. He wouldn't have that returning customer base growing, because the more the returning customers you have, the less you're having to spend on cold acquisition, and the brand itself just starts to carry moving forward. So it becomes way, way, way more profitable. And if you want to go to like a venture capitalist or whatever, the first thing they ask you is, tell me the brand story. Because there's a million products out there. I have a friend who just sold a competitor to Boom by Cindy Joseph, and he did pretty good. He built it up 3 years, exited it for about $5 million. And you know what the number one thing that the investors said cost him money?
Probably a weak or lacking story or compelling brand.
They're like, there's no face.
And it would have, and my guess is $5 million. I don't know the revenue, but I mean, it could have been a $20 million exit with a better story.
Absolutely. They were like, yeah, it looks good, like makes sense, whatever, but there's no brand identity. There's no story. There's no face. Right. There's no guru. Where, Boom by Cindy Joseph, their story was, we believe that as women age, they become more beautiful, not less beautiful. And their story was based around Cindy Joseph, who was the world's oldest supermodel, right? So their customers were the 50 plus females, and they loved that story. They were like, oh, somebody's telling me that not only am I like I'm okay, I'm becoming more beautiful, and they're backing it with this supermodel who's 70 that's like flaunting her stuff and all the confidence of it. That story just like resonated with that audience. What's the reality? Guy sells skin cream.
Right.
That's it.
Probably just like everybody else's skin cream. It's not like he's got a patent or a.
No. And, I mean, he literally says, I love that business. It's just more jars, more goop. That's it. That's the whole.
It's so true. So, and it's interesting. We had someone in one of Antra's groups yesterday who was asking about, what should I market? And they said, they tried this product and it didn't work, and they tried this product and it didn't work. And I kind of answered, and I said, in a nutshell, my answer was like, honestly, what's the point? You're trying to market this, you're trying to market that. I mean, most people in the world, if they really just need money, there's probably a job somewhere. I mean, the economy's booming, at least in this country, economy's booming, right? If it's just making money, you're going to spend a lot of time getting good at marketing. You could just spend some time at a job and get paid. There's something really magical about what we do and these skills. But I think that what you said is so illuminating just now, that like the investment of time isn't in finding the product or finding the hook or finding the hack or finding the trick. It's in finding the story and learning the skills.
And I would even take that a step further, right? So when we bring clients on in the e-commerce space, we instantly divide them into one of two categories, right? They are a holy shit product, or they are a brand product, right? We've got clients, incredible products, like we've got one client, for example, I think I've told you about him, where he's got a hidden gun shelf, right? So it's just a shelf in your living room, and you click your phone, and it's got like, your books and stuff on it, whatever. And then it goes, and it drops down, and there's 2 hidden 9mm in it, right? The first time I saw that, I was like, holy shit, I want that.
Right.
There's no brand around it, right? It's just a product. And the guy sells a zillion of them every single day, and he makes a ton of money. He's super happy, right? Good for him, right? And then you've got something like Boom by Cindy Joseph, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm going to twist this skin cream thing, and I'm going to put it on my cheeks and who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Right.
And most women that are going to do that, they already do that with a different product.
Exactly. So how do you win that battle when it's not a holy shit product?
Right.
You got to win it through the story of why you're doing this, the stories from your people of why they love it, right? The story of how you're going to treat your customers and how you're going to differentiate yourself and how you're going to create that culture, that community, that movement. It's all story-based. So you only have 2 types of products, right?
Yeah.
The holy shit or the brand-based product. And if you can take the holy shit and then create a brand around that as well, and maybe launch another one and another one, like even better, right? But my friend Ryan right now, I'll give him a shameless plug. Like, he just launched a new product called True Earth, and it's like disposable or like natural laundry sheets,
right?
And his big push is like, look, like the Tide bottles don't break down in the dumps. They're going to be here forever. And our company has now removed, 762,000 bottles from the world this year by using True Earth, right? Well, you take a step back from that and you're like, hey, I got some laundry sheets. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Right. But you tell that story and build all around there. Think about your kids, think about your future, think about the earth, think about the good you're doing, making the customer feel good about themselves for being involved. All of a sudden now, the guy's crushing. He's absolutely smashing right now, right? On what? A laundry sheet.
Right. A laundry sheet with a story.
With a story, right?
So let me ask you this. And first of all, I know that you may have a time stop coming up. How much time do you have?
I don't even know what time it is right now. Yeah, in 10 minutes.
Okay, beautiful. I think that's about an appropriate length anyways, even if you didn't have a stop. So that's great. So my question, and again, I'm thinking through my audience, right? Because most of my audience knows my story, which is in the same way is your story. It's so many stories of people we know who have come from, beginnings or circumstances where they were not voted most likely to succeed, let's say. And we've used, again, the skills and the focus on story and the understanding of these concepts to grow, orders of magnitude of quality lives beyond the norm, right? I mean, you make millions of dollars sitting on an island. I get to be home with my kids every day. So do you. I mean, just it's money, but it's so much more than money. It's money, it's freedom, it's flexibility, it's time, it's family, it's options, opportunities. And so, my story thus has attracted a lot of people who I think are in a place where, either maybe they're young and they wouldn't say they're voted most likely to succeed either, or maybe they're older and they're on a path that they don't love. And they're like, how do I get off? But it's so hard because I feel stuck because I have responsibilities, or I feel like I've lost time. So to that whole realm of people, I'm always trying to create formulas that people can believe in to take action in their life. Because you and I both know that if everybody just took enough action, everybody would get the result as long as it was informed. But a lot of people are just stopping short of even doing because of fear or confusion. And so we're trying to give clarity. So my question is, based on kind of everything we've said, to the person who's like, okay, I see that there is this world out there. I see that there are these skills. I see that there are these real people who've used these skills to create these lives. I want to do that. How do we steer those people? Where do you see right now as the best focal point of energy? Or maybe it's multiple things.
I mean, if you're talking about getting into the digital marketing space, right? You know, that's why I think, I mean, you have your affiliate training course, correct?
And our affiliate program that's meant to be
exactly right. So that's where I started, you know, in my career, and that's where you started, and that's, you know. And
I should tell everyone, I was actually, my first experience was enrolling in Aaron's course back in the day.
Yeah, and did, you know, very, very well, you know, as an affiliate in that company. And, you know, when you want to, you know, create this digital, you know, self-sufficient lifestyle, right? If you don't have this burning hot idea, and you don't have the cash, and you don't have the story, and you don't have, you know, but you want to get started, that's why I think the affiliate marketing world is so beneficial, right? Because you're not having to come up with the product. You're not having to make the product. You're not having to do, you know, any of the back end admin and website building and like all of those things, right? Your only responsibility is learn how to generate traffic to that offer and sell it, right? And in that process, you're building your skill sets up tremendously. You're making some money as you're making sales, and you're getting a good understanding of how the ecosystem works for when you might be ready to do your own thing or not. Maybe you just be a super affiliate for, you know, a million years. I mean, look at the guy. I met a guy in ClickFunnels the other day, just like $40,000 a month in affiliate commissions out of ClickFunnels, right? I mean, that's insane.
But it's interesting, even a guy like that. And this is, to me, I think this is, I by the way, 100% agree with you about affiliate marketing. We didn't prep this ahead of time, but like, I already just knew that's what you were going to say. And it's exactly what I was hoping you'd say, because it's like, it's the right answer.
It is honestly. The right answer.
Yeah. You know, I always say, if you have $1 million in the bank, then actually real estate can be a great place to start.
Yeah.
But if you don't, start with affiliate marketing, learn digital skills, grow from there. But even the big ClickFunnels affiliates, let's say, even the biggest affiliates in my company, Entra, for example, they do tend to use other people's products as a vehicle to actually start to build their own story and their own, I would call it like a quasi brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a brand overlay. The best ClickFunnels affiliates are the people that still do have an answer to the question of like, well, why should I buy ClickFunnels from you?
Right.
Right.
And the reality is that, you know, you buy from people that you like and you trust, right? And the more content that you put out there, the more people like and they trust you, right? And the more your audience becomes ingrained with you, and the easier it becomes to sell something later on, right? Where a cold sale, you know, is tough. Right? Like there's no reciprocity, there's no belief, there's no anything, right? So, you know, if people are saying, okay, well, what product should I sell? Right? Most people have a passion somewhere, right? They have a passion. Like I saw this lady the other day, she had a macrame site, right? Killing it.
Right.
Is macrame still a thing? Right? She's killing it. Right?
Apparently, yeah.
Right? Like go make content about macrame. Put it in, get into Facebook groups about macrame. Find email lists on macrame. Like make YouTube videos about macrame. Go do it for a year and then launch something to them, right? Like there's macrame affiliate programs out there right now, believe it or not, right? You could become an Amazon affiliate and sell macrame off of Amazon, right? Like focus on what is interesting to you, because the grind is real and it's your energy that's going to allow you to persist through the tough days. And if you actually love what you're marketing, then the energy will carry you. If you have no like allegiance to it and you don't believe in it or whatever, the grind will get to you for sure.
And you know, I think about when we were sitting down and I had this sort of issue, because I think that I've built a really good case study in exactly what you're talking about, where I said, hey, I have these skills, and my passion is sharing these skills in the form of education to help other people, achieve what or their version of the same results, life-changing outcome. And it was like, I mean, honestly, in hindsight, the assessment was, that's great, but you have no brand.
Yeah.
Right. You've been a behind the scenes guy. So like, were you going to go run Facebook ads? And what, you're going, for me, going into especially because I talk so much personal development along with business skills, I'm going head to head with guys like Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone,
Brendan
Burchard, flipping Oprah. Like, I couldn't have picked a more difficult thing to say, I'm going to force my way into this world. Right. And yet I have. Entra has legs. Entra is a really fast growing, thriving company. But, I spent 9 months never selling Entra through any videos that I created. It was, you nailed it. It's just about letting people see who you are with the passion so that they can decide they like and trust you. And now I can run Facebook ads, and you're a Facebook ads manager. You know our metrics. I can run Facebook ads and convert front-end offers at the same metrics as a Tony Robbins or a Dean Graziosi or a Russell Brunson, and I've had some results, but my results haven't been nearly as public as their results, or frankly as big. So yet how am I able to compete? It's because people go, who is this Jeff Lerner guy? And they go find videos of me talking about my kids, and they find videos of me and Jacqueline talking about what it takes to have a good marriage. And by the way, none of that at all qualifies me to talk about digital marketing.
No.
But they like and trust me. And so to me, it's
done it through repetition, right? Like when we first talked about this, we're like, just talk about what you're passionate about. Doesn't matter, right? It's almost like you have to understand that it's just a numbers game, right? Some people are going to like you. Some people are not. That should be your goal, right? Your goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. So talk about what you believe, repel the people who don't believe what you believe, and then just start chipping away in volume on that crowd, right? It doesn't even matter what you said. The fact that they saw you again
on a screen,
and again and again and again, right, is just chipping away at their resistance to you, right? And so when you sell like a Jeffree Star 5 years later, holy crap,
right?
Like, or like Gary Vaynerchuk, people didn't even know what he did.
Right.
He's just talking about, like, he was just talking about what he was passionate about. And then he was like, oh, by the way, I've got a book coming. Bang, New York Times bestseller. Bang, booked all over the world at speaking engagements. Bang, his Vayner Media is worth 400 million now. He has an agency. Have you ever heard him talk about his agency? He barely talks about his agency. No. Right?
Brands go find him. He doesn't advertise his agency.
No, and he just did a Super Bowl commercial with Pepsi.
Yeah, I know.
Or Hard Rock. Yeah,
it's insane. And here's what I would want people's takeaway from this to be is like, Aaron, I believe you've done a wonderful job of kind of summing up the world we live in right now. It's like, look, learn the skills, in particular, focus on the skills that generate new business with paid ads, because those are the skills that will pay yourself and that businesses will pay you for. From a brand building perspective, it's not about the perfect message or the perfect video. It's just about consistency and authenticity. The time to start is now. The thing to start is both of those things as much as possible. But understand that the more you can lean on delivering value and growing your brand, the easier it will be to be successful at generating paid traffic for whatever the thing is, right? It's kind of like sharpening the saw, right? If you have 5 hours to cut a tree down, you spend 4 hours sharpening your saw. If you have 2 years to make money online, spend 18 months delivering value and growing your brand, probably, right?
And building your audience. Right?
And building your audience, yeah. And that's...
I met with this guy yesterday, Jeff, that he's a Spanish guy, and he's in Mexico, and I've never heard of him before, right? And great guy, super nice. I said, what, tell me about your podcast. #1 business podcast in Mexico. I was like, really? Right? Yeah, I said, what do you do? He's like, I review business books, and I do this and I do that. I checked him out. 1 million downloads a week on his podcast, 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram off the charts. He was coming to me to say, okay, like, I think I might want to sell some stuff now.
Right.
I'm like, well, that'll be easy.
Right.
Right. Like he's like, there's not a lot of money in the podcast world, but that wasn't my focus. I'm doing it for 2 years. Now I have this audience. Now I'm going to sell some stuff. Right. And we were talking through it. Right. And I was like, man, I'm like, guy's a genius. Right. Like,
yeah. And you think about it, people say the internet is such a messed up world because people think, but that sounds so slow.
It is.
And it's like, yeah, but it's actually not, because the other model is 40 fucking years of a job.
Right.
So that maybe you can retire and have 10 years at the tail end when you're too tired to even enjoy it. Like, yep. People are in such a hurry online, but it's like, if you spent 5 years, if I said, listen, I'm going to make you $50 million in the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. People would be like, and they were like, they believed you. They'd be like, I want that program. That sounds way better than my job. Okay, great. We're going to spend 9 years podcasting and we're going to have you write a book or two. We're going to have you make up, not even podcast. We're just have you make a bunch of YouTube videos. You're going to go live on Facebook twice a week.
I need you to make 3 videos a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to do that for 9 years. And even the first year, you may not even know what the heck you want to focus on, but we're going to take a year and hone in on something you're passionate about, you have aptitude in communicating about, it's your it thing, right? It's your thing where you have superpowers you can at least develop, even if you don't have them already. We're going to take a year to figure that out. We're going to take 8 years to hone it in and create a massive base of content, and then we're going to sell stuff for a year. And in 10 years, you're going to retire with $50 million.
Sounds like
it sounds amazing. Honestly, you say that again because I talked over you.
I said that sounds like what Jeffree Star just did in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. No, and yet people online would be like, no, that's too slow.
It's just perspective, right? Like I'm in my 40s now. Like in my 20s, I would have said the exact same thing. Everything had to be like 911, like right. Now, right? Now I'm in my 40s. 2 years is like 2 months. So if you're right. Like, hey, we're going to work on something for 2 years, I'm like, oh, it's nothing. Right? Like, it's just perspective, right? And it's just patience, and it's passion, right? It's combining patience and passion, and that's what we did with you last year, right? I was like, I need you to make a video every 3 days for the next year. You were like, okay. Most people would be like, hell no.
Right.
And then I don't know how many views you got in the last year. I mean, I think it was like, what, 4 or 5 million, or
I think it actually flirted with 10 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what can you do with a 10 million person audience? A lot of things.
Yeah. Right? Launch your education company about how to, build businesses on the internet.
Absolutely.
And seem highly credible in doing so because they've seen you 100 times.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It all works.
And by the way, I'm a musician. If I had wanted to sell a course on how to teach yourself to play the piano, I guarantee you I could have sold $1 million worth of that course.
I agree.
Right? Yeah.
I agree.
So anyways, listen, man, I know you've got other things to do, and I appreciate your time. I love that. Man, there's so many great takeaways. I'm actually going to go back and watch this again, but just right there at the end, combining patience and passion. What a powerful idea, because we tend to think of passion as this thing that burns hot and burns intense, but it's the sustenance, right? I always say it's the tortoise and the hare is a false paradigm. The answer is yes.
Right.
Right. It's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. Those things don't usually go together, but you know what? Makes great marriages, makes great business, makes great parenting and families, right? It does a lot of things really well.
So I feel like what you're doing is you're saying that it's not easy.
Oh God, no.
But come on, man. It's the internet. It's supposed to be easy.
How about this? It's easier than working a job you hate for the rest of your life. It's easier than that.
Beautifully said. That may be our ending note, dude. That's like the perfect coda right there. However hard it is, it's easier than working a job you hate for the rest of your life. Truth from Aaron Parkinson. Thank you, man. I look forward to future conversations like this, man.
I'm looking forward to being back on the show.
I'll let you know when the show knows what the show is, man. Thanks again.
Perfect. We'll talk soon.
See ya. Bye.